All right. A moment. Should we start? Okay. We're going to go ahead and open with the call to order. And let's start with a roll call.
Okay. Member Carlton?
Here.
Member Green?
Here.
Madison Wan and Gummigan are out. Member Johnson?
Here.
Member Yee?
Here.
Chair Shaw?
Here.
Okay.
All right. And with that, we'll move on to the land acknowledgement, which I can go ahead and read. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lisjan. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must take strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. Over to the...
Yeah, so looking at, if everybody got a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting, if anybody needs to review anything in particular, I can bring it up onto the screen. Or we can take a motion and a second to approve the minutes as is or with any corrections.
I move to approve.
I second.
Okay. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Yee?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Carlton?
Aye.
Chair Shaw?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to public comment. If anybody has any public comment on items that are not on the agenda, please raise your hand. But seeing that we don't have any attendees in person or yet in the virtual audience, I would say that we're probably good to move past that. And yeah, no presentations, which brings us to the meat of tonight's agenda. All right, so hello everybody. Thank you for being here. Just to remind the committee, we've made a change this year to modify the submission timeline for your gallery, to move it to end in June as opposed to ending at September, in order to allow the committee to have more time to less time to receive applications, but more time to review and plan for the subsequent year for your gallery shows in 2026. So it seemed to work okay. You've got 6 good submissions. They were complete, a variety of different artistic styles. So tonight the committee will be reviewing the applications, the 6 submissions, and reviewing for completeness in that they turned in all of the requested materials, for appropriateness for the space, and artistic quality. So this is actually one of I would say one of the more interesting and fun parts of being part of the Arts Committee is being able to review artists' work and make a selection based on what the Arts Committee feels would be most appropriate for your gallery. I have a presentation that I can walk through, walk the committee through all of the submissions. Of course, everybody got a chance to review all of the full applications from each one of the artists, but I figured we can just go ahead and start. I can walk you through a larger size view of the artist's work. Note that the projector is not color accurate, so I would definitely remember back to looking at the PDFs within your own environment. Of course, there will be some deviation from what it looks like in real life, but the very least, we can show you the artworks all together. I've organized the artist alphabetically by last name to avoid any type of preference. I also have the artists' websites that are available for you to look at, as well as the full documents within their application, if you would like me to bring that up as well. So if you'd like, I can go ahead and get started, or if there's any questions before we start looking at this, I'm more than happy to answer any.
The only question I have is, you mentioned that we're going to be reviewing for completeness.
Yes, and so I'll go through, and there were, so looking at the requirements for, is that Pauline? Looking at the requirements in the application, I think you'd also want to take a look at what was submitted. The committee receives the full application of what was submitted, and if it's missing any content, whether or not that comes to bear. Sometimes that can be a deciding factor in terms of selecting a particular artist if some of the information wasn't there. So, all right, so let me just bring this up here. Just a second here.
Oh, I just wanted to bring up, we currently have 3 openings for next year. Just keep that in mind. We have somebody scheduled for, Susan Moffett is scheduled for first quarter. And so we're looking to fill 3, but that does not mean that we have to discount them totally. I mean, we can move them to the next year too.
Yeah. All right, so the first artist is Susan Chaney. The title of the show is Alternative Visions. It's a little bit difficult I wanted to present this in as much of the original form that the content came in. It makes it a little bit difficult to present it here. I'm assuming that everybody got a chance to read the letter of interest and the artist statement. Both provide sufficient content and information here. They provided the proposal describing the show, as well as a list of recent exhibitions, and then some samples of what the show would look like. So this artist is a photographer working with cyanotypes and Van Dyke method of alternative processing for photography. And provided they came in complete with all of the information requested. So you can see the variety of work style. So these were presented right here. If there's anything else that you'd like to call out, look at as we go through, please just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just run through each one of the artists. The next artist is Tommy Harkness, Chemical Elements and Other Reactions. Provided a letter of interest, artist statement, proposal, gave a CV, and yeah, that's it. And this is the work here. The next artist is Jules Kobelin, Floralscapes, which is the working title of what the show would be. Provided a letter of interest, the bio, artist statement, and then a description of what the show would be, as well as the CV and where she's presented. series of floral works, multimedia. Next artist is Kam Chung Mok, California Landscape. Provided the letter, artist statement, artist proposal, and exhibitions and publications, work list for the show. Here are some of the pieces. Next artist is Linda Tisch, Memory and Metaphor. So we received a letter from Linda Tisch. Actually, let's see. I think this is Linda's work right here. I accidentally got one of the slides out of order. So, but that was all we received. It was just the letter and the actual application. So I don't know more than what was submitted. We could take a look at the full application.
I do have a question about this.
Mm-hmm.
Not being proficient in whatever that language is. Do we need to know what that is saying?
Something for the committee to consider. The next artist is Sheila Wood, Industrial Impact. So provided the cover, artist statement, description of gallery show, past experience, the work list for the show, thumbnails, and then the pieces themselves. For Sheila Wood?
So further, I think it might have been further down.
Yeah, yeah. They can't. Some were presented in a variety of orders. So that concludes the presentation I have. I can leave this up for a bit if we want to go back and look at anything. I could also bring up their original applications as well as their website for reference. So what we'll be looking to the committee for tonight is a recommendation for the 3 artists to select, for the committee to come to you can vote on 3 artists together. You can do one by one. You could have a conversation about where the committee is leaning. There can be some straw polls to see kind of what the direction, maybe there's some concurrences amongst everybody, maybe there's one that stands out, and then work from there. So I'll leave it up to you, and Chair, you can kind of
Yeah.
feel that process, but I'm here to help facilitate. But I think to Brad's question, those would be the sort of questions that I think will be looked at tonight.
Okay. Great, so I think, sounds like we need to choose 3 to move forward with. Is that correct? Yep.
Well, yeah, ideally, 3 for moving forward. Like I said, we don't have to stop at 3 because we can move on to the next year. So, but we do need the 3.
Okay, well, great, okay. I think one approach could be, I think we've all had a chance to look through them. We could, if any one of us has a particular one that like kind of stood out to us, I'm happy for someone to just maybe open up about that and share some of their thoughts. And in addition to that, I'd love to hear kind of Brad's thoughts since he's been sitting with many applications for probably a little bit.
I actually would love to just kind of go through each one individually and get people's thoughts.
Sure.
I mean, we don't have to do a, aye or nay or whatever kind of thing, but just kind of see what people are thinking about some of these things. They're pretty different, and personally, all their statements and their experience, they're obviously very experienced and have a lot of experience
Yeah.
in showing. So personally, if that's okay.
Yeah, we can do that, yeah. So we'll go one by one. Do you want to kind of lead the discussion for each one?
Yeah,
And then maybe at the end, what we can do is we can kind of go artist by artist, and each person gets sort of 3 votes.
Sure. Start at the top with Mr. Cheney.
Would you like me to bring up their full application or the slides that I had?
Honestly, just the slides.
Okay. Let me just make a correction I saw. Yeah, all right.
Like I said, I think they're all extremely accomplished, so.
Okay, so this is Susan Cheney, Alternative Visions. Come on, there we go.
So on this one, I liked her proposal that she's trying to like bring art and also to kind of inform people. Also to inform people of the methods that she's using, which are a little bit different from what most people might know. And I also like that she's offering to do a demo. I think that's an engaging way to approach it.
Honest, I didn't read that far into it, so thank you. I find her work engaging, and I like the thought of her actually doing a demo. That's interesting. Does anybody remember the medium that she's using? It looks like pen and ink, maybe some watercolor.
She's using something called cyanotype and Van Dyke.
So this is her website. Photographer from Berkeley. Under alternative process, it talks about her use of cyanotype and Van Dyke.
was thinking maybe we could just go through all of them, so everybody could get a refresher, and then we can kind of go back and talk about what we all think we want, you know, our three.
So you don't want to
choices.
discuss each one while we're covering it right now? Because we
Oh,
did
yeah,
just walk
definitely.
through it.
Definitely discuss it as we're going through.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd probably be my preference. 'cause
Yeah, I
Jeremy did just go through.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyone else have thoughts on this one that they want to share?
I'm good.
I think it's kind of pretty interesting, and each sort of piece seems quite different, which I think is very cool. Like the Three Peaches has almost like this dreamlike sequence, whereas Blue Dancers looks like some mix of sort of X-rays and yeah, just sort of different techniques, which I think is interesting.
I agree with that, and honestly, some of them I don't feel are that successful. This one doesn't say anything to me. Same one right above that, the Peaches. I mean, it's all quality, but you can only pick three. That's my only, I mean, I love several of her pieces, honestly. Number 7, sorry,
Number 7.
The red one.
that's it. I think that's gorgeous. I think 3 is gorgeous. 1's gorgeous. So, honestly, it's, I feel like most of these artists, it's going to be hard to do it all.
Right. Anyone have anything else on this one? Let's move on to the next one.
All right, so Tommy Harkness, letter of interest. Let me know if you need me to expand this at all, if you want to read this here or look at the proposal.
You read the proposal, so anything interesting?
Nothing jumped out at me, like, you know, like that first one I did like that it took a different version. But it seems fine and the work seems interesting.
Yeah. I did like that this artist grew up in Albany and now lives in San Francisco. So I think I have a slight bias towards, you know, supporting people that have come from our community. And it looks very inspired by Basquiat. I know they mention him.
There is some profanity and questionable content for the space that's
For
actually
children, this might scare my
Yeah.
2-year-old.
I mean, I did think, right, like, I did think when I first saw it, like, it's pretty dark, and not that we want to be all like violets and roses or anything, but, you know, like, I don't know if.
There
this
are
is-
some specific requirements for that space that are listed
Yeah,
in the
and I don't know if this
application.
is the right venue for that art, but,
Yeah,
but some of the,
sorry, go ahead.
like, stuff like that one before this is pretty non-offensive. That one, that doesn't, I mean, it might be scary to a 3-year-old. But,
But as I was just looking, you know, through the text in here,
yeah, it might just be, actually, I think we
Yeah.
could probably knock it off the list just for that, reading that, which I hadn't read that closely.
I had not either.
Yeah. Yeah. We could just kind of take that out of the pot.
It's too bad. I like the artwork, honestly. But, yeah.
Okay.
We can move on, I think, from this one. Unless anybody has any.
Let's move on.
Jules, Floralscapes. Jules is an Albany resident, and I should also say she's a friend of mine. So I'm not voting. I'm not voting on this, but and she has done some work for the city in the past. She's a graphic designer as well. So
I like her work quite a bit, and I think it fits with the gallery very well. Yeah, I don't know, it just seems, it's very engaging. It's bright, it's colorful, it's got some abstractness to it that is fun. Give this a thumbs up.
It's very non-offensive.
Yes.
Which I think in some dimension, you could also say, is it, does it draw you in enough? And I think for different people, the answer could be different.
I don't know, thoughts from the rest of the crowd?
Yeah, no, I like it. I don't know, it's all just like flowers, but she kind of like changes it up a lot, and I feel like it's kind of like detailed and abstract like at the same time. I don't know, so I like it for sure.
Yeah, I really like it a lot too. I think the pop of color really like draws people in, and I think a lot of people would really like seeing it in the light.
Yeah, I honestly really see this as being dramatic in the foyer. Even though I kind of agree, it's not pushing the edge at all. It's very safe. We're Albany. What can I say? We're very safe. I think I don't know. Deirdre, you've been quiet.
No, I'm fine, I think it's fine.
Okay, well, can we go ahead and move on to the
Yeah,
next
why don't we move on to the next one?
I should just say, just in looking at my screens and what I've seen, the projector is definitely off on most of the art, especially when it comes to oranges. Just keep that in mind.
Well, you got all these fluorescent lights.
All right, so Kam Chung Mok, California Landscape. The artist envisions organizing by location within the foyer gallery, so areas, so California Landscape, Mammoth Lake, Sea Ranch, Palos Verdes, Huntington Library, Joshua Trees, and Sequoia National Park. So that would be the organizational component to the show.
I like this one, but I think I didn't love the proposal. Like when I saw the work, I thought the work's pretty cool, but the proposal seems kind of boring, honestly. I mean, to me. And I don't know how else you could organize it, but I just envisioned a room with a lot of these, and I guess if you knew the places intimately and loved them, then it might resonate. Like that one, you know, is really, obviously, we know where it is, but I don't know that it would be, it seems almost more like background than a show itself.
I think it could be interesting. I like the previous paintings. Not necessarily that one. But some of these I find very intriguing, and if this proposal considered that a little bit more, I think that might be more fun, because then you have these sketches, which are very good, but I feel like they don't flow with the rest of the show. That's my only thought.
Yeah, I really like these. I think I have a bias towards landscapes, and particularly like California landscapes, which I think are beautiful in this style of bringing in Chinese techniques to do art. I see the point that it doesn't feel as like cohesive as like a theme or show, and I do think. In some ways, it's like the sketches I like almost more than the
Yeah, me too.
paintings.
I feel like if you just add some splashes of color to those sketches,
Yeah,
make it
I see.
feel
Yeah,
it fits. Because you're right, I agree. They are brilliant. They're really very nice. So I potentially put them on a list. I don't know if this is part of my thing, to talk to these people and say, hey, we were really close. We really like this stuff. Is that something I can do, or should I not do that?
I think you would be doing that with whoever is selected by the committee first, and then moving on. If it would be, the committee makes a decision, prioritizes perhaps the top three, and those top three, once they've determined, yes, they can, yes, they're interested, then that's when the working with the artist to curate a show. I think that would make, the other option is the decision is not made tonight. A decision could be made at the September meeting after Brad has a chance to talk with each one. What you would need to keep in mind is that everybody would have to be treated equally with the same type of questioning or process or visit, and I don't know if you'd want to introduce that level of trying to make sure that everybody is engaged with in a fair and transparent manner, so that nobody gets preference.
Right.
And I think that could be a challenge.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think I'm going to fall into that.
I vote B for us to just make a call this evening. I think they're all quite interesting in their own way.
Yeah,
Unless
I
it's some sort
agree.
of-
And if, for example, if one artist, which is in the top three for 2026, cannot make the committee would like to bring the artist in, but with a few modifications to the show, and if they're not willing or able to make those changes, you could just move to the next person on the list, the number 4, perhaps. That's an option.
Yeah, I think this is on a separate topic, but I would like to talk to you more about the process and how I talk to these artists and. Okay, so I'm guessing we're kind of lukewarm on this one right now.
Yeah, I still like the sketches.
Okay.
I do
But,
too.
Oh, sure, sorry.
yeah, curious where the votes will fall.
Yeah.
Overstepping, sorry.
Great. Anyone have any other thoughts on this one? No. All right. Let's keep it rolling.
Okay, so Linda Tisch, Memory Metaphor. This particular artist, this was the only documentation that I saw other than the actual application. So I didn't, to some degree, the artist talks a little bit about what the show would be, but it's mainly just a description of what the artwork is. So I didn't see. I didn't see the rest of what was requested in the application.
Yeah, I think we should just disqualify this one, actually. That seems mean, but if they can't follow the directions, they might be hard to work with.
Sorry, what didn't she do?
She didn't submit a full proposal.
So let's just verify all of that together here.
That's correct.
Yeah, it is correct.
Okay.
I checked before.
All right. So
Do you feel like the questions in the paperwork is all clear?
Yeah, I think some people don't follow directions, and it's hard to work with people that don't follow directions. This sounds really hard, I realize that, but like that's the point of having requirements.
yeah, so this is what we received from Linda Tisch, Memory Metaphor, 24 pieces. It's the letter and then the works. But there also is one thing that I would point out to Brad's point of using another language as a decorative motif. There is something that many people will not understand, and I certainly can't read what the text is saying. So without either some context, and I don't know if the artist has a proficiency in the language in order to represent appropriately exactly what is being portrayed in the artwork, and whether or not that has any cohesion with the artwork and the statement in text. And I think that is something that the committee should be careful with, because if this was written in Spanish or Arabic or French, and in any language, Japanese, Korean, not everybody is a fluent speaker, and they wouldn't be able to necessarily understand. So,
Yeah, I think two things that relate to that, I think, stand out to me. One is just we don't actually know what it says. So is it saying something that is potentially offensive or not? I think the second is it would be helpful to me as I read this, does the artist have actually some sort of cultural or a connection of heritage to these cultures?
it looks like, I'm only going on what is saying in the first sentence, that the artist has always been drawn to Asian art in general, and more specifically calligraphy. So that's kind of what, and I think the committee's had some other discussions about this around murals and in terms of representing other cultures than what the artist is. That's been a conversation that's come up in conversations before. So, not knowing the artist, not knowing the background, that would just be something for the committee to take into consideration.
Yeah, because looking at some of these, it's like, is that really a language? I mean, it looks scribbly. That one. There's another one that's obviously a language. Do we have to go through and find somebody to transcribe all these things?
No.
No, but it would be a conversation with the artist. Should provide some context.
anyone have any other thoughts on this one? All right.
All right, let me bring this back. Okay, so coming back to. Yeah, so this is Sheila Wood. Oops, sorry. So here is artist statement, website, digital media, past experience, and the gallery show. Looking to show 2 larger pieces, small frame prints hung in a group, photo montage. So it looks like this particular artist is looking to give some context for the style of work that they're presenting.
I like this one because it's a little bit unexpected. It's a little bit different than what you would expect to see in a small town. You know?
Flowers.
Yeah.
I am going to agree with that completely. And I also will admit I'm very biased to industrial art. So I like this kind of style. I like this. I think in what she's doing too is colorizing things to make them really interesting. So it's not just a shot of, the chevron, whatever that place is. She's actually doing art with it.
Yeah, I personally like looking for all the straight lines through them.
There's a lot of good leading lines in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just interesting and it's unexpected, and I think that this is one of the proposals that might get people to like stop and look, which I'm assuming that's kind of the goal, right? We don't want it all to be background art. But this I could see, like Harsh just said, like people going up and being like, wow, look at how all those lines are arranged, and I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool.
Interesting point. You don't want it to be just all background art.
Yeah.
Anyone have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. On the third one, the third picture,
See, if I'm,
what is like there's like some writing on it. I'm just like,
can you describe which one you're referring to?
it's the one,
Or just look at the screen and tell me, stop when I get to the one you're.
oh yeah, that one. Like the top left, there's like pink faded writing. I don't know. I was just wondering if anyone could see what that said.
Oh, there is a bit of text in there.
I'm not sure. Like I don't know if we're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's fairly legible.
Yeah, I can make out a couple words in there, but
I mean, the title's graffiti is
Yeah.
the title, so.
I don't, it's not really my place to weigh in on this, but one of the things that I like about this is it takes things that people just absorb into the background of life and then bring them, it creates it kind of creates some mystery around some everyday, but places and spaces that are really fantastic and interesting, but people just kind of are blind to this, and it presents them in a interesting manner.
Yeah, I agree, and I believe like a lot of people will look at these things and see them as blights on our environment, and at the same time, you can make art out of it.
And the composition and the balance is really strong.
Okay, is that the last one?
That's the last one.
Great. Okay, hope everyone has their 3 choices. I think we should move into voting now.
Before we do that, we probably should open up to public
sure.
comment. But seeing that there is nobody in attendance, if the discussion and any questions or at least any questions of staff, any questions of that the committee would like to have answered or look at, we could do that now before opening it to public comment, and then have the discussion and voting or any motions after that. But I think have we concluded all the questions? Okay, I'll open it up for public comment, and seeing none, bring it back to the committee.
So do we need a motion to vote, or can we just
You can
discuss
just,
our preferences?
you can just discuss your preferences, yeah, and then figure out how you'd like to make a decision, multiple decisions, however you'd like to do it, should be fine.
Could we just, could we vote on, could we go one by one and just
Yeah.
raise our hands? Is that possible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of a straw poll, and then, do a vote, and then have a discussion about if there's any conflicting, opinions. Yeah.
Great.
Wait, so just to make sure we're disqualifying the second one and
Yeah,
writing?
what the committee mentioned was, some of the language and some of the content for Harkness might not be suitable for the space, albeit very, some really interesting and engaging work. There, at least the examples that were shared with the committee in the application wouldn't go against some of the requirements in the application for language.
I think Tish was also in that same vein.
It was incomplete to yeah, it was incomplete.
It's incomplete.
Yeah.
Language, we can't.
So if the committee is not looking at those 2 artists, the artists that the committee would be considering would be Cheney, Koblin, Mock, and Wood, yeah. And if you need me to bring anything else up, just let me know, yeah.
So that's pretty good. That's 4 people. So we could make that happen, actually. Not to overextend my limits as to my authority, but I could go into 2026.
Sure. I think that's also okay if everyone feels strongly about them. Do we want to just vote on our top 3 and then
Yes.
figure out who's the 4th one, and we can make a call on what happens next?
Yeah, or just do the top 3, and then we could put out another call. And depending on how I can talk to the artists, I can.
Oh, are you talking about for 2027? Yeah, okay, so you're thinking about still considering artist number 4 for the beginning of 2027,
Yeah.
something like that.
I think it might be better just do another call.
Yeah.
for us. I
Yeah.
think we'll get
Yes,
stronger
definitely.
submissions. Okay. So why don't we vote on 3 and then
Yeah.
go from there? Great.
So voting on 3, either we can just go down people can list their top 3, or we could just do a show of hands for.
Let's do a show of
preference
hands.
one.
I think
Yeah,
it'll be faster.
preference 1, And then we'll do preference 1, preference 2, preference 3, just by a show of hands. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, as in, wait, are we?
Yeah, because there's a lot of different ways to organize straw poll voting.
I think we just go artist by artist for
Yeah.
the 4, and we
Yeah,
raise our
that
hands for which one
would
we
be
like.
helpful for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So for the 4, so you want to raise your hand, so,
Vote for 3 out of 4.
For 3, we're gonna talk about we're gonna vote on the 4, but.
I think maybe you should do this because
Okay.
Yes.
I'm getting myself confused.
Jump in.
Okay, so we are gonna do raise our hands for the, we're gonna go artist by artist, and you will raise your hand if they are in your top 3.
Perfect.
Okay.
Here, then I can, let me help facilitate this, just so that we know everything that is happening. Just a moment. I will do this, and then we will, okay. So here we are. Susan Cheney, artist 1.
Artist 1, is Susan Cheney in your top 3? Raise your hand if so.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Tommy Harkness, we're,
Too bad, I like that.
okay.
Jules Copeland, if this is in your top 3, raise your hand.
Ooh, we got a consensus.
Good. Okay.
California Landscapes, Kam Chung Mok, raise your hand if this is in your top 3.
Okay, so 3. Anna? And, yeah, so we're gonna,
And, Sheila Wood.
so it looks like there's unanimous on Copeland and Wood, and so, and looked like Mock had 3, and Cheney had 2.
Yep.
So that would be an easy way of sorting it out
Yeah.
if the committee wanted to make a motion for the top 3, all strong contenders in a variety of different means. So unless there's any other discussion, that would probably be an easy way unless anybody has very strong feelings one way or the other.
That worked.
I'd like to have a push for Cheney as opposed to Mock. Mock's work was good, is good, don't get me wrong, but I felt it just did not have a show. Didn't seem complete to me, whereas Cheney, I feel like she had a full-on show. It all made sense. I love the idea of her wanting to do a demo. So those would be my thoughts.
So if I could introduce some procedure here, the committee did already, it was evident for 2 artists. Somebody could make a motion for the 2 artists to move forward with them, and then somebody could also make an additional motion for the other artists and have an up-down vote on either one, and then see what the committee decides. The other option is to continue having a discussion and present some arguments one way or the other. If there's any other determining factors that you'd want to look at in terms of the artist's application or the cohesiveness, what would you weigh more, the cohesion of the show, the merits of the art, how it works in the space, organizational structure. Those are all different things that the committee could consider if it was between 2 artists and there was some disagreement or different preference.
I'd like to make a motion that I think we all agree on Copeland and Wood. We seem to all
Yeah.
Hands up for those two.
What's the motion?
Oh,
Moving forward.
that we move forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, yeah,
I second that motion.
yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve artists Kobelin and Wood for inclusion in the 2026 Community Center Foyer Gallery. So now we have a motion and a second. Member Carlson?
I second.
So this is called, yeah, okay. Member Green?
Yes.
Member Johnson? Aye. Member Yee?
Aye.
Chair Shaw?
Aye.
Okay, so 2 down. So if somebody would like to make a motion, and then if there's a second, or for particular artists, or if you would like to have any further discussion before moving forward on a vote for what would be the third artist for 2026.
Okay, so Brad, maybe we can have just a quick discussion on what Brad raised. Is that okay? Do we need a motion for that? I don't think so. Okay. I think you raised some good points about cohesion of theme. I do kind of individually like some of the pieces and the drawings of the California landscapes. But I think the demo is also a great piece, and I think potentially could bring the community together in one place, which I think in some ways is one of the points of art. To have sort of this shared experience. I could be convinced. Yeah, sure.
Well, I like the idea of moving beyond just having art on the walls.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be nice to kind of like branch out, kind of like what Stephen Moffat's doing next quarter, first of the next year. Just kind of a bigger impact, more things happening with the art, not just here's my stuff on the wall. That's what kind of swayed me with Janie.
You know, one of the other things I might also add is you think about 4 shows next year: Susan Moffat's Path to Belonging, Jules Kobelin, The Floral, Urban, what is it, the industrial, industrial, and then what would be the most appropriate complement if you were looking at a series for 2026? What would work best? And I think in terms of Cheney's photography, it is a distinct and different medium that would be presented in that space. I just think about what that space would look like with each one of those 4 shows. And Mox certainly would, and Mox also would be a very different, albeit it's also still paintings, as opposed to photography, which would be, Susan Moffat's is a multimedia, a lot of mixed media. Kobelin is very colorful, floral works, the industrial lines and color, and then the photography. It seems like a good mix.
Okay. I'm convinced. See, that was a little too easy, wasn't it? Strong opinions loosely held.
Member Johnson, Member Yee, do you have any?
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess we could take a motion for what artist number 3 for 2026 would be.
So just to be clear, because contact. So we're looking at Cheney, Kobelin, Wood for next year.
For 2026, but we would first need a motion and a second and a vote to approve the third artist at this point.
I move that we approve Janie.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Okay. Motion and a second to approve Susan Cheney? Yeah. I think, yeah. Let's just, and then we roll it back. I just want to make sure that I have her name correct for the Susan Cheney, Alternative Visions for 2026. Member Yee?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Carlton? Chair Shaw?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. So the committee, thank you, has selected 3 artists for 2026. And I think in addition to Susan Moffat's Path to Belonging, I think it will be a really nice series.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good show. Brings me up to another question. A lot of artists.
And if you could please speak into the mic too, please. Yeah.
This mic, okay, that one. A lot of the artists have conflicts. You know, we're coming up the summertime and vacations, and they do shows all around the world. And I feel like I need to have a little bit of leeway in being able to schedule them. So I can absolutely send it out to the group with what I'm thinking and what is working out with the artists, just so you guys are in the know. But I'm wondering if that's any issue to any of you guys, because you just don't know. Like, I have a guy, he's going to show next week, and he had nobody to hang his art. So
Is the question, is the committee going to have an issue if you have a specific ordering?
yeah,
No.
all right. I was getting right to the chase of it all. I like that.
You know, these are also things too that can be, now that there is an official subcommittee, certainly you can look, when you report back, or we can agendize if there's a particular issue that comes up. But I think, up to the gallery manager, and one of the things that we also looked at the last meeting is leaving some space open if you need some assistance, and somebody else wanted to be part of the subcommittee, working with the gallery manager to help either facilitate or even to hanging, right? That is something that the gallery manager or any of the other arts committee could be involved in. I think that was the tendency in the past with some of the past gallery managers, is they would be another set of hands sometimes for that. It's not a requirement. It's really on the artist to do that, but it's really kind of up to you how you'd like to manage that with them. But I think the committee would certainly defer to your recommendations for the timing, the order. I think when it's loosely around 3 months, 4 shows a year, roughly in the quarter. If there is some empty space where there isn't a show, I think the preference would be to have empty walls than a bad show. So I think,
We could put up my stuff.
right, placeholder.
Placeholder. So yeah, I was wondering about actually helping with hanging and removing, and I wasn't sure if that was a liability for the community center, and
No,
for me personally,
yeah,
I'm not that handy, so
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
be a good supervisor, get the coffee, yeah.
Okay.
Bring the donuts.
I can do that. Okay.
Okay, should we move on? I think we have still quite a bit to discuss, and just want to make sure we have time to get through the rest of the agenda. So over to the PAPP.
So I put this on the agenda in continuing the conversation from last time. There isn't much, at least from a staff's point of view, in terms of what we need to do right now. I know I didn't put on the sculpture loan program. I figured that this, looking at the foyer gallery would be enough for tonight, but we can come back and look at the sculpture loan when we come in September to launch that call. But I think there was some discussion around whether or not it should just be a purchase program, so we can look at each one of these aspects of the PAPP. One of the questions that came up at the last time was if If there are any changes to the funding amounts, that is certainly within the committee's purview. It would definitely, if there were any changes to the PAPP, those would all need to go back to council for approval. So even if you change by $35 or $50 or $500, any of those line items would need to be approved by council. But there isn't any need to make a determination for a different type of funding until you have more information that it would necessitate more funding. So maybe on the subcommittees to look at it first and say, oh yes, this is definitely what we will want to need if we're going to do anything. Let's take this back to council and make those changes.
If we have some degree of certainty, let's say for the sculpture program, if we're like, okay,
You definitely need to be. It definitely needs to be $10,000 instead of $5,000,
Yeah.
or something like that. Then it would have to be a vote by the committee, and then take the entire PAPP back to council for the change.
That would happen before any calls for,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to do then.
so that's something we can do today during the subcommittee, or do we do that now?
It would have to be a conversation that is done now, but the subcommittee, so since we're looking at the PAPP and the sculpture subcommittee has already met, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And has come to some
Yes.
determinations.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the order. I think maybe we'd want to bring that conversation here into this item if there's any changes that need to be made.
Sure.
Yeah. So Chair, I'd
Yeah. So we can go ahead and discuss it now. So, okay, I think what we have discussed on the subcommittee is changing it from the sculpture loan program to a sculpture purchase program. Part of the issue is that this arts committee rolls over every 2 years, and it can take a lot of time to get projects going and to kick off discussions with artists and to get a piece installed. And so I think the idea of having a sculpture loan program is great if you have the same permanent group of folks. We're able to move quite quickly, and if it is a private space or a private lobby where you can just kind of change things out, I think. Instead, I think what we discussed on the subcommittee is changing it to a sculpture purchase program, because I think we can kind of make a decision as a group and look at all the pieces that we are interested in and just say, hey, we'd actually like to have a permanent home for this piece in Albany. I'll also add that, sometimes when where our funding comes from is when developers build in Albany, and some percentage of development cost is set aside for, I think it's something like 3% for arts in Albany. They sometimes choose to install a permanent sculpture, like the one that we see at, is it the Belmont
Yeah.
Village?
Yeah.
And so I think, changing to something permanent is just
Sure.
kind of streamlines things. And otherwise, I think we will just have an empty concrete pad.
I completely agree with that, because if nothing else, it's like, okay, sculpture alone, that gets a sculpture there, but then you have to revisit it later on. And it's like, if it's just purchase, we're going to just purchase this sculpture. It's done.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, sculptures are, they're harder to swap out than paintings on a wall. And so there's like costs and timing associated with installation and removal. And and then in terms of costs,
I'm trying to think of how we got to the amount.
yeah, I think we'd said that's a loan program. I think I'd like to have us increase that to was it 20 or 25?
20 is what we said, but I can't figure out where the 20 came from.
I think we'd said 20 to give us enough leeway to purchase a sculpture. That includes the cost for installation, the,
Or maybe
artist-
more than one even, you know, like,
yeah, I guess we'll have to see. how
Yeah.
much, these-
but yeah, did it come, if it came out of the sculpture loan program, that's 5,000, how did we get the other 15?
Well,
that's the,
it went up in the last session of in 2023 when the Arts Committee looked at this, raised it from $2,500 to $5,000.
Yeah.
For the sculpture loan program.
Yeah.
And so would this be looking at one sculpture for the one remaining pad, and then kind of not a loan anymore, a fixed sculpture in that particular location? So it would have to be sized specific to that. So it would be some change, obviously some changes to the call, but doing a separate call for artists for a particular sculpture for a specific location. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I want to point out that the Heron sculpture maintenance proposal from 2012 was something like $7,000.
Correct,
And
yeah.
so,
And that's likely realistically, probably closer to $25,000 just with costs. Inflation, a decade old, further degradation of the structure.
and so that, that's just the maintenance of one sculpture. I don't think this means that we will end up spending $20,000. I think this just gives us the flexibility to go up to, depending on what we see as a committee coming in when we do a call for artists.
so, okay, so if we're the sculpture subcommittee, does that mean that we cover, this sounds stupid, but suddenly, like, we're sitting here talking about it much more. It's in front of me in a way that it wasn't when we talked before. So does that mean we're overseeing the Heron sculpture? Because it might be not a situation that we want to get into if it's going to cost us $25,000 to fix it. Do you know what I'm saying?
It is.
Then that means
Yeah.
this must be where we got the,
No, I think we just talked about the purchase of a sculpture and giving us
Yeah.
flexibility.
okay. So anyway, so,
So, I mean, if you wanted to kind of look at, for example, the PAPP was sculpture loan and Heron sculpture. If the committee wanted to vote to make a change to make that be sculptures in Albany, for example, and those two line items are combined, then that's $12,000 to work on sculptures, for example. Or, yeah, 5,000 plus 8,000, 13,250, right?
right,
And then if you wanted to make some modifications to the community project set-aside fund, say, for example,
got it.
you wanted to keep that at $25,000 and add another $11,000 into sculptures
Yep.
generally,
Yep.
it would allow the committee to have a certain amount of flexibility. But then, obviously, we'd have to put a staff report together, bring the PAPP back to the council to look at. Likely, what we would need to do is come back to the committee with this in September, and perhaps this is the beginning of the discussion. Finalize that at the September meeting, and then produce a new PAPP that would go to council probably in October, something like
Okay.
that.
And then we could do a call
Yeah,
at the end of the year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the proposal for, was it for consolidating the line
Yes.
items?
Yeah.
To what number?
Well, if you were just to kind of look at the math between the Heron sculpture, the sculpture loan program, and some amount of community projects set aside, that would give certainly a more flexible, because,
Yeah.
there's a very good chance that the committee may just want to look at the Heron sculpture, it's end of life, maybe it's the cost of removing that
Yeah.
and leaving that space open for another sculpture. And the preparation for,
Yeah.
there's a variety of ways that can be considered.
I think what will end up happening is if we get a realistic quote for the Aaron sculpture maintenance, it's going to be at least 20,000. That would leave almost no.
I think we
So I think, and even getting rid of it alone, that could cost like multiple thousands of dollars. However, I think Public Works is looking into the Aaron sculptures, and that's sort of sitting in their queue, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Are they going to take a look at maybe an estimate for removing it as well? Is there a liability issue? I think that's what's helpful to know
Well,
from their
it
perspective.
eventually will be a liability issue at some point. I don't know that it currently is now, but it's something that has been brought to our attention within Public Works, that there is some rust there. Somebody could feasibly get hurt, so
Okay.
I don't know if it's,
I might suggest, we can consolidate the line items, increase it to 25. We'll probably spend a good chunk of that on the sculpture purchase program. We can go back to, when these things go through city council, they end up on consent calendar, and alongside staff report, unless there's a big issue, like things typically, the council members want more art in Albany. We want more art in Albany, so we can figure out ways to request more funding if need be.
this is a fixed amount based on the capital projects that come through the city. It's a set-aside fund, so there's a percentage so if there's not big building, there's not big chunks of money coming into this fund, because for example, if there's a big development, the development can either contribute to this fund, or they can make a decision to invest in the art on their own. And then in that case, the money doesn't go into the fund. And I think that's happened a few times. I think that was going to be the plan for the development where Albany Bowl is. I think they were opting to create and invest in their own art there, as opposed to contribute to the city's fund. So
Yeah, but that community project set-aside fund, that could be,
that could be modified.
so
Yeah, we'll
I don't really see an issue. I mean, I think, I said this at the beginning of this committee's term, but like, if we somehow manage to blow all this money and get a bunch of art in Albany, like, I think we should feel really good about that. Because that, to me, is in some ways the goal, is to spend it, wisely, judiciously, in ways that I think benefit the community. But I can tell you, in the last 3 years of being on the Arts Committee, the only thing we have purchased is one sculpture for $5,000. So I think
The
sometimes we're
committee
just,
also did receive an email from a member of the public. Did everybody receive that?
Yes.
Should have gone to the Arts Committee, making some suggestions for different types of functional sculptures within the spaces. Brian Martin sent that, I think, on Friday. Friday, or came in over the weekend, so it didn't get added to the agenda, but it'll be posted afterwards. But it should have gone to all committee members. And if you want, I can, if people want, I can bring that email up. That was,
yeah, I'm not sure
I saw it. It was in 3 parts.
yeah. So there are some other members of the public who are sharing their thoughts, and if we want to, because this doesn't need to necessarily be decided tonight, but I think that would be, if that's the way that the committee is looking at, we can prepare a draft to bring back to the committee in September, or it could be maybe if the sculpture committee wants to work together with staff, we could have a Zoom meeting or something like that, like in the past what we did with the murals program, to kind of hammer out some of the details, and then come back to the full committee with a proposal that and a staff report to look at and approve.
I just have a question about the heron sculpture. I haven't been out there in a while, so I don't know what is needed to take care of it. Is it just being tagged or
oh, it's old and rusting over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Until somebody climbs on it and their leg goes through a rusted part of the metal. Yeah, that's.
Why do we have to deal with the public like this?
okay, so do we need a motion at this point, or what do we need?
I don't think so. I think probably the best course of action would be for the subcommittee to get together with staff
Okay.
Okay, so
and
we could
we'll
just,
schedule a meeting, kind of look at some of the options. And I can bring Isabel in on that. Because, I mean, honestly, the set-aside fund for community projects, nobody has come to the committee requesting
in
that
all these years,
for several years.
Yeah, let's
And
just use it.
And whether or not the committee wants to keep some amount of that or use all of that or kind of, work towards it. But I think it's, it's a valid point that it takes a long time to get things going, and in light of the fact that there's a pause on the mural program, this might be a good focus right now to get something else. Well, we'd probably want to be mindful of timing too, in terms of what hopefully will be happening in 2027. But I think it's worth having the conversation to look at that, so long as the full committee is in agreement that this is a good idea. And maybe it makes sense to take a vote tonight to kind of give the subcommittee some direction in terms of how to proceed with providing the information back to the committee. Maybe the entire committee wants to vote on whether it's worth making the changes to the sculpture program and looking at that kind of holistically. That's something that can be considered, or you can vote to give staff some direction to come back with some more information to the committee in September. So we can kind of look at it that way. I don't know if there are any other aspects to the PAPP that the committee wants to explore tonight as well.
Well, I was thinking, you guys seem to be kind of running with the sculpture thing. So do you guys have thoughts on what you want to do, would rather do?
Yeah.
Consolidate, kind of?
consolidate it, raise it to 25. I think
Yeah.
that's,
Right.
yeah. So, just for the record, we can take maybe a vote.
I can do a motion.
Yeah, a motion. Is it okay if I motion, given that I'm on the subject?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm curious whether or not 25,000 would be enough.
Oh, well, sure, we can go up.
That's kind of what I'm wondering is
Yeah.
whether, in terms of, and maybe the specific amount doesn't need to be determined just yet, but it's, and what to do with the heron sculpture together, you may want to, because feasibly, it could be two sculptures if the heron is removed.
Yeah, sure.
And the heron is a much larger space than the 3-foot pads on Masonic. So, and maybe it's a little bit more. And maybe even before you're voting on a specific number, maybe the subcommittee wants to do a little bit more work in terms of maybe some more investigation in terms of what it would take to fill that space down there by the bulb, and maybe start looking in that direction too. And whether or not it makes more sense just to really look at the entirety of the set-aside fund and planning for both contingencies, being able to repair the heron sculpture, and what would be the time frame for repair? Would that get another 10 years? Would that get another 20 years? Would that only buy 5 years? And but it's also like it's a really beautiful, iconic part of the Albany bulb landscape. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people who don't know that they feel really strongly about that. And if it was to come out, there would need to be some rationale and hopefully something else that was in the works that the committee has already kind of thought and vetted in terms of what the desire would be for that location.
Do we know what the artist feels about it?
Yeah, and it might be worth inviting Julian back. he's on another committee, but he had conversations with the artist, and the artist was hot and cold in terms of this. What I remember was hard to track down, hard to get in touch with. But when he did, he had a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts, different preparations, different techniques, and wanted to come up for a site visit, and would be so. It was there was a lot of and whether or not that person would be available. The original artist would be available to do the work, consulting. I'm sure there would be some fees involved with that. That was my sense.
Does Albany have the ability to just do what they want to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was purchased from the artist. We would have to go back and look at the contract,
Okay, got it.
the original contract, and the sale and the agreement. But that certainly would be something that we could provide for the committee, or for the subcommittee to look at in advance of making some decisions about this altogether. But I think it does make sense to bring it all together and kind of look at it as one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think one of the challenges is like trying to figure out what that bigger number is without having any sort of report from Public Works, who is going to be the one giving us a view on like, is it a liability? Does it need to be maintained?
So maybe we can prioritize having that information to, I'll have to check and see whether at the September meeting. I think there's enough time between now and the second Monday of September to get that information. However, I'm not sure. I think we can work with that at a staff level, and then when we meet with the subcommittee, be able to share that information like that. I'm just thinking through a process here.
Yeah. Can you play that back in terms of order of operations?
Yeah, because I think one of the things that the subcommittee is going to need before coming to any conclusions about the actual amount would be some report back from Public Works that this is tentatively going to be whatever the number is.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we should break these up into separate streams now, because I don't know how long it's going to potentially take to get that information from
Yeah,
Public Works, and
It's true.
maybe engage with other vendors to get actual bids in place, and so it kind of feels a little bit of cognitive overload and
Yeah, but-
decision paralysis. So
So maybe it's just solely looking at modifying the sculpture loan program to a sculpture purchase program,
yep.
and then so then the amount of money that's for the heron sculpture is insufficient. So you'd be looking at tapping into that community projects to make a change for that. So if you were going to pull anything from the community project set aside fund for the sculpture loan, for the sculpture purchase program, if you were trying to make that $25,000, then you'd be taking $20,000 from the community projects fund. Correct? Is that
Correct, yeah.
So leaving $16,000. Then that would only leave, what, 16 plus 8 would be, yeah, so we're looking at 24, 54.
If we even end up spending $25,000 on sculptures, which we have not yet, murals are still on pause. Yeah, to me, it's like, where can art actually go and move forward? Unnamed, unknown projects in the community fund is obviously, a place where funds are held, or the sculpture program where there's a pad there in a prime location at Solano and Masonic. Sounds pretty good to me. But I'm curious, if there's anyone else that has thoughts.
No, I'm totally for that. I think that's the direction to go. Sculpture loan program. I agree with you guys. Bump that up. Heron sculpture. I really don't know where to go with that. To be honest.
I think we'll wait to get the report from Public Works and then. Okay. So can I vote to, or make a motion to increase that line item? Is that, okay. I motion to increase the sculpture loan program to $25,000 and to change it to a sculpture purchase program.
Might need some additional language from the subcommittee to bolster the staff report in terms of to outlining the committee's discussion around this and a little bit of background. So
Sure.
I'll contact you independently, look for that, and then I'll talk with Isabel about getting that on council's agenda. Probably won't be until, it won't be until September that it would actually go to the council agenda. And I'm not sure if it would be the first or the second meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Not
Okay.
to derail the agenda, but I'm just curious, is there any update on the murals?
No, I don't have any new information. The last I looked at it, anticipating some movement towards the end of the year, likely in November. I think that's when something was scheduled for a vote but yeah. Okay, so still looking at the PAPP, then I'll hope to bring back some information from Public Works by the September meeting about the heron sculpture. Would it be worth bringing, so the subcommittee for sculptures also could reach out to former member Baldwin to get some more information about, and then maybe a little knowledge transferred on. Do you have Julian's contact information?
I
So
don't, since we can't contact them directly.
Yeah, so now that they're not a member of the committee, I can share that with
Okay.
you. And if you'd like to reach out and see if you can transfer some from.
I spam him all the time, so it's whatever. I really don't.
And then, I think that makes sense for the community projects. It's kind of, held in reserve for something, but if nothing's happening over the last 4 years, that's probably fine. Any other? Oh, actually, I'm sorry, we did not open this up for public comment, which we should have done before taking the vote, but being that there's no members in the audience and no members in the virtual audience, I think we're okay. Should there be anybody? No.
Okay. Right. Are we on to subcommittee updates?
Yeah, so let me stop the share here. So that brings us to our Fall into Haiku subcommittee, and would you like me to bring up the presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Let me just see which one did I have this in here. There it goes. There it is. All right, so go ahead and just tell me when you would like me to advance. Yeah.
Okay, so we would like to update you on the haiku subcommittee and the haiku project, what's been going on. So me, Sabrina, and Madison have met a couple times since the last meeting. And we wrote down some of our notes in just a little slideshow. So for tonight's meeting, we'd like to share our progress. We'd like to not necessarily get the budget approved, but just make sure it looks good with you guys. We would like.
So I can just interject, so there can be an updates, but what we can do is agendize this for a following meeting. So the committees will receive the report back and then bring this back for, if we want to agendize this for the next meeting in order to make some decisions.
Just to make sure, it has to be approved, the budget.
It would have to be an agendized item, not a subcommittee report.
Just a quick question, sorry, on budget, is that okay? Are any city funds, can any city funds even support the Fall into Haiku
So
project?
Yeah, so we've determined that there are city funds available to be able to do
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
last time you mentioned there's some funds, right?
yeah, we'll
Um,
find a way to make it happen.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
great.
So you'll see, we did get the ACF grant for 750.
Amazing.
So
Great.
That's great. So you'll see the city, like what the city would need to provide, it looks like it's gonna be around like 600. You'll see in a sec, but, okay. We want to go over the timeline with our goal still being to launch the project at the end of August, get the submission form out there by the end of August. We also, well, I wanted to ask you, Jeremy, so, like, we think it would be really cool if we could get the project into the fall activity guide. I know it might be too late, just wondering, like,
Yeah, I think all the design has been finished like last Friday.
okay.
So it would mean a special meeting of the Arts Committee to agendize, to make decisions, to approve it, to approve the funding. But let me see if I can, outside of the committee, let me see if there's anything that can be done. I'm not sure. Might have to be a spring into haiku, as opposed to a fall into haiku. That was something that actually was done in the past, in order to do it twice a year. So maybe something to consider, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then, also, do you know, I mean, we're not there yet, but who would we contact to, like, when we're ready to get the submission form onto the website?
That would be me.
Okay, perfect. That makes it easy. And then at the end, we want to like share some of our ideas on themes for the project, and also some ideas for the selection committee, and discuss that with you guys. And then, of course, answer any questions. Next. All right. So what we've done since the last meeting. First, we contacted 3 local printers and got quotes for the project. Yeah, we asked, like, the quotes were for 40 yard signs. You'll see in the budget, but 40 yard signs, 20 posters, and some promotional postcards. We ended up asking for 1,000. It was just, yeah. We got all of the previous files from Peter Goodman. I already had like the overview of the project, but I got some of the like designs and other stuff from the 2022 project, which was the last time that this was done. We put together a budget, and we wrote a grant proposal to the ACF for $750, and it was approved at their last meeting last Tuesday, which is great news. And lastly, we researched and reached out to some graphic designers. This is the thing that's most up in the air, I would say. Like, I don't know, I put some, do you know Fiverr? Like, it's like a graphic design website where like, I don't know, I put like our projects and got some like quotes and like some people who might want to do it. I also reached out to like a couple like people in the community who might want to do it. I'm not having much success, but we'll figure that out. Also,
Since this is also going to be a city program, we might be able to handle some of that
Great.
in-house.
that would be great, actually.
What did Peter Goodman do?
Peter is actually, he owns a printing company, and I think he has a lot of experience in graphic design, so I'm pretty sure that he just made it himself. I do have his like design and files, so another option would be to kind of go off of that and use that. So yeah, still figuring that out.
So what about reaching out to students?
Yeah, that was another idea that we came up with. It could work. I don't know, we want to make sure it's professional. I don't know, just.
Of course.
If someone's looking for a way to do it in a way that's done at home, but it looks, reasonably professional.
Oh, that software
I can't support
platform?
something called Canva, which is where I work. And if someone needs a pro subscription for that, I'm happy to give that to someone if you want to
Okay.
actually use that for this project.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So these were the prices from the 3 printers that I reached out to, which were Alliance Graphics, Copy Central, and Sucom Copy. The best price and the one that I think that we would go with would be Sucom Copy. They're family-owned printing shop in Berkeley, and the family lives in Albany, so they're local. Yeah, so you can just kind of see some of the numbers there. Yeah, if you have any questions.
Yeah, we've worked both with, cities worked with Alliance Graphics and Copy Central, not with Sucom, but yeah.
Are the 17 by 11s for the big belly? Got it.
Yes. So the 17 by 11 posters are the big belly ones, and yard signs just go into like planter boxes and stuff.
So how are the yard signs distributed?
Yeah,
Ask
Peter
her.
said like you kind of just like figure out what works and what doesn't, and like just go around and like I don't know, like try different soils. I don't know, and like put it in there.
I helped Peter hammer them in one year.
Oh, really?
Around.
Okay.
Yeah, and you try to keep a map of what you put where so that you can give that back to the participants so they can be like, oh, that's mine.
Okay, because I would volunteer to put one in my yard.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, and then one of the things that they did in the past too was to tag everything in Google Maps, and we'd embed a map on the website, and so there would be some documentation and kind of easy some
Around.
wayfinding. Yeah.
Yeah, we're planning to do that next, for sure. Next slide, if there's more questions. Okay, so this is our proposed budget. I guess we won't be able to completely approve it tonight. As you can see, total cost was $1,354, and we're getting $750 from the ACF. Yeah, so the Albany, what would be needed from the city would be around $600.
Yeah, from what, in my conversations, we were looking somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500. I think the city would be able to provide. So it may give some more flexibility for hiring a graphic designer, but we also might be able to pull some of that in-house to our design staff. But it's also something that may be able to be managed in Canva by, was it Photoshop or Illustrator design, the original?
I think it was in design.
In design? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was in that format.
Then, yeah, you've certainly got a starting place. But, it's multiple assets, so the design for the yard sign, the postcards, so it's three separate things that all need to be formatted slightly different. Might also want to consider a banner too for the community center. That's something that the city's typically been doing. I think that's like a 12 by 3 banner. And also there's another banner, I think like a 4 by 6 that depending on how much promotion you want to do, those could be some other things that typically for larger events and campaigns. Like if you see, there's a Concerts in the Park one right now coming up on City Hall. And at the community center, also at Memorial Park on the tennis courts, that's where the city will typically do larger banners. So, but you're also going to see it as soon as you put them into people's yards. So.
Okay. More questions on this?
It's good.
Cool, thank you. Next slide, please. So for our future plans, we figured out that the fall activity guide may work, maybe not. We would need, this month we're gonna finalize the submission form. We have a draft. We think it's pretty much finished. Yeah. I'll pass it around maybe in a sec, because I printed one out, if you guys want to check it out. And then we would also need to finalize the promotional postcard design, probably by the end of this month. So that in August we can send it to the printer and have them print it. Okay, and then, yeah, in August, just get everything ready to launch the submission form on the website at the end of the month, and yeah, have the postcard ready to distribute. Next slide, please. For September, we would finalize the selection committee and just keep up promotions, maybe trying to get it into school newsletters, city newsletters, etc. In October, we would collect the submissions from the city. With the selection committee, we would review them and select which ones we want to be printed and distributed. And then we'd need to create the files to send to the printer and place the orders for the yard signs and posters. Next slide, please. And then lastly, in November, we would put them up and then post the locations on Google Maps so that the people who were selected can, I think anyone can see it, but they can go see where they all are. And then, we need to notify the poets who've been selected. And then after, I would say 3 to 4 weeks after placement, we would remove the yard signs into posters.
Okay, so then for our themes, some of the themes that we came up with were gratitude, which would kind of be like a Thanksgiving theme, urban nature, change and transition, and beauty and decay. And then for our selection committee, we were thinking it could be the haiku subcommittee, which would be Dexter, Madison, and I. And then either one Albany High art teacher, which would be Miss Cohen, Miss Niles, or one Albany High English teacher, and we were thinking Mr. Nielsen or Mr. Russell. And then maybe a Albany Poet Laureate or former Albany Poet Laureate.
There isn't currently a poet laureate, and I don't know if that program is still continuing. There are a couple former ones who I am aware of that are still here. However, there weren't. And the last time the city looked into having a poet laureate, there weren't a lot of good options. I think the lack of people applying.
Okay. Do you guys have any thoughts? Well, if you can go back to the last slide, just in case you guys have any thoughts on those, any ideas, any preferences?
Just given the nature of subcommittee updates, we can't take any action or really have conversation about it. But this does look like really good work, and what I'll do is I'll see what I can do to make this happen for fall, because really would need to come back to the committee to have the program. They did a really good job putting together all of the information. I'm wondering if there's a way that I can get it into the activity guide, and if not, is there enough time once this would be approved by the Arts Committee in September for you to do your work for a fall into haiku? Because if it doesn't go into the activity guide, does that really limit options for a fall, and whether or not this should be moved to the spring? Because it will take another committee meeting in order to receive the full presentation, as opposed to just a subcommittee update. and then vote on bringing this into action. And I don't know if there would be enough time from the September meeting to be able to make that decision have it agendized, and then meet the timeline to launch a program and do it in. So maybe something that we talk about offline. So the committee can receive it, but there's not really opportunities for conversation around this.
Can I talk about the overall presentation?
Yes.
Just, yeah, I just want to say I presented the last meeting on running efficient meetings, and I think this was just textbook done really well.
Yeah.
So you laid out, the goals of what you wanted to accomplish in the meeting. You gave status updates on where things stand. You gave, numbers and budgets, and then a timeline as well. So very clearly put, very well done. So kudos to you all for putting all this together and making it very clear for what we need to do.
I think it will be very easy to come back in September and have this on the agenda and have the committee move forward based on the work that you've done.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Sounds good.
Okay. Sculpture subcommittee, I think kind of talked through that. All right. Community center foyer galley subcommittee.
Anybody want to know anything about it? It's still going. It's happening. I am the only person on the committee, so if anybody's interested, let me know.
Did have a question. If we had talked about the haiku program as part of the PAPP, could that?
It's not part of the PAPP.
It's not PAPP. Okay, it's sort of a special aside thing. It's
Yeah.
ephemeral.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to sneak away,
Yeah.
but I know Jeremy will do his best to find a way.
We'll see.
So I have no updates unless anybody has any questions.
Okay. I think the only announcement is that Joel Schreck will be installing the show at the community center end of next week or the week after?
Let's see, Susan Bowen
Taken down this week?
takes down this Thursday.
Where?
Joel will be installing the next Friday,
Got it.
and his reception will be that Sunday,
Okay.
4 to 6.
That's it. So I think under future agenda items, we'll be looking at obviously the Fall into Haiku. Possibly Spring into Haiku. I don't know whether that was something that happened at least once, where people had some spring in their step instead of falling down. So
I would. I feel like January can sometimes feel a little bit bleak, or February. I wonder if there's like a rain onto haiku.
yeah, right.
That's for you all to.
Maybe that's when it's needed.
Yeah, I think that's because it does bring people joy, but it's like there's a lot of other places to get joy in November and December.
So the next meeting is scheduled for September 15th. So we'll see you then. And with that, our adjournment tonight is at 8:56. So thank you all.
Thank you.
You're slipping.